Well, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. For 80 episodes, I have been doing the same intro, and I'm kind of tired of it, guys. Moses, how you doing?
Papa Dan, can I has politics?
Yes, we are going to be talking about politics. Nothing's happened in politics within the last time since we talked about it, right, Justin?
Oh, no, absolutely nothing newsworthy in any way, shape, or form.
I thought Clinton was on Arsenio. He was like playing saxophone.
Oh, this is going to be a delight.
Pedro Alejandro here. Very happy to be here on the podcast. I'm not too familiar with politics, but happy to dive into it.
But before we get started, I just want to encourage all of you out there. This is the Loud and Drunk podcast. So go to loudanddrunk.com. You can catch up on the podcast there, purchase some merch. Make sure that you bookmark that today so you don't miss out on any of our content, whether it's on social media, YouTube, Rumble, or wherever. And you can also bug Moses. You can email him and give him podcast ideas, or just, overall just be an asshole to him.
Yeah, bring it.
Yeah.
What's that email address again?
It's just on the website.
Yeah, it's on the website. I just answer them. I don't send them.
Also, make sure that if you are listening to this on YouTube, that you smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, if you're just listening to this podcast in general, like Spotify, Apple, wherever, subscribe to the podcast as well. We'd appreciate it very much. All right, guys, I don't think we're in the same country anymore. A lot of things have happened over the last few.
Australia?
Yeah, it might be.
This is a Zoom call.
So over over the last few months,
I'm not wearing pants.
Moses, you might not be aware of this. Somebody tried to off Trump.
Oh, like jack him off?
No, not
I
that.
thought we did that last time.
I'm trying not to use certain words because YouTube doesn't like it. Like if you use
bad words?
Yeah, no, they're not bad words. They're just words that YouTube doesn't appreciate when you say them.
Words.
Yes, special words.
Dan, if I may, I think that what you're thinking of as far as presidents that are we not allowed to say it?
Relieved?
Relieved with hands, with whatever the case may have been. That was Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a long time ago.
I thought Donald had something with Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
Was that not?
thing. Yeah, no, that was also a thing. That was also a thing that has happened. Trump has been convicted for a variety of crimes in
getting
New York.
A hand job?
Yeah.
Not convicted yet. It's still he's been.
No,
he's been
they're doing the sentencing.
For one of them, he got convicted. Yeah.
He could just overturn that when he's president, right?
Yeah, actually, that's a weird part of that. Yeah, you could just
because he's going to be.
You want to talk about self-release? Yeah, yeah.
One of the biggest things that's happened in this country for a while, somebody did take a shot at Trump.
Yes,
I work in media, so I was just having a normal weekend. I went to go visit. I said this on the podcast already. I went to go visit my grandfather. It was his 90th birthday. On his 90th birthday, somebody decided to take a shot at Trump. I'm like, oh, great. I can't have a minute away. Can somebody just please let me have a weekend for God's sakes?
I hope it was when your grandfather was blowing out the candles to make the wish, and that was just his wish. It came true.
I mean, the rest of us were at one of our friends' birthday parties. I got there a little late, and I looked at it, and I thought it was a mock-up thing. And it's no, it turned out it wasn't.
It does seem really silly.
Did you guys actually see some of the headlines too, from CNN? And
some of them, yeah.
They were just oh, Trump got scared by a loud noise and fell down or something like that. It's what?
Yeah.
Are you this jaded now, or just oh, this one particular candidate that we don't like, somebody tried to take a shot at him, and it's oh no, he fell down. That was. Some people are even saying that didn't actually happen. It was a piece of glass from a teleprompter. There's a whole bunch of conspiracy theories, both left and right.
He wasn't shot at?
Yes.
But
they did shoot at him.
I got
that's
nothing.
real.
Good night.
You know what, Moses? I too will smoke a cigarette.
But he was.
This is what happens when you have such a really divisive, in terms of the political discourse, country. It does not matter what actually happened. The other side will be well, that didn't happen, or they're exaggerating this, that, and the other thing. It's
Can't we just not do anything and just tell each other stories?
I mean, I would also say that, it's funny that it was dealt with in that way, but he didn't die.
Yeah.
Like if he died,
No,
that's a real thing.
I mean, the
But,
fact
like,
that he got shot at is
he got
something.
shot at, but his ear got fucking.
Well,
cut.
but getting shot at is significant in anybody's life.
Well, that's
It's
well,
just
yeah,
not
but it wouldn't happen.
publicized.
It wouldn't happen to you or me because we're not.
Why
running for
wouldn't it
president.
happen to me?
I'm sorry that you think that you're so fucking important that there's a
No, it's not that I'm important. It's that I'm fucking annoying.
Well,
Why the
that's
fuck
true.
wouldn't anybody
There's
take a
probably
shot
a
at
lot
me?
of listeners that are thinking about killing either one of us right now.
Hopefully they go with themselves.
If you end up getting winged in the ear, it's only because they're trying to wake you up from your nap.
But it's also the trajectory of the bullet was going to go right for his the side of his head. It would have killed him if Trump didn't really turn his head at the last moment because they were showing some sort of chart. He was
Until
making some sort of
God
point.
intervened.
But he always he always turns his head in that way though.
Yeah, it's just
I feel like he's got he does a thing where
Oh,
he's like
so it's like a
always
setup?
craning his neck. No, I'm not saying that. I think that some kid tried to fucking kill him.
Yeah,
And there's a whole bunch of conspiracy theories around that kid.
I love
too.
that kid got kicked out of his shooting
That
club at
kid's
school.
dead. Oh, I didn't know what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Because he was such a bad shot.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll show them. I'll kill the president.
That kid was
Yeah, fuck that up too, kid.
Yeah.
like that kid, and I haven't really dug into it, so I've only seen what has come to the forefront. But he's kind of like an enigma into himself,
Yeah.
which is just fodder for all the conspiracy theories.
Aren't they
Yeah.
all?
Somehow this teenager is the one in existence that doesn't have a social media presence. Yeah, my ass.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it's been a minute since we've done a political thing, and a lot has happened.
Yeah, and everyone's forgotten about that now.
Yeah.
The media has successfully scrubbed that from the political memory.
Well,
no one is talking about that anymore.
Besides that, I mean, and yes, a lot has happened, but I mean, besides that, the bottom line is that President Joe Biden is still the front runner in the race, and
Thank God we have a competent president.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that even though obviously Trump was almost killed or somebody wanted to kill him at least, bottom line is that the race is still on, so we don't know who's going to be the next
It's good
president.
to
It could
know-
be Biden, it could be Trump, we don't know.
It's funny
but it's
that
one
you
of these two people.
It's funny that you say that, Pedro, because what was it? A week or two later?
Yeah.
Joe Biden. I think it was just a week later. Joe Biden removed himself from the race.
No,
Not to be
no,
outshined.
shut up. No, that did not happen.
Not to be outshined. Joe Biden came back with a fierce left.
Oh.
Yeah, we're all upset.
So
Bring me up to date here, Dan. What's going on?
This is also another thing that I couldn't stand because, again, work in media. So I'm at the bar with friend of the show, Justin Mechanic, and his lady, Dorian. We're having a drink, having a good time. And then all of a sudden, just like when I was at my grandfather's place, I get a text message. Oh, yeah, he's going to go live in half an hour. And I'm like, can I get another one, please?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Need to brace myself.
What's funny about that is that I actually hung out. I don't remember if I told you this, but I hung out with Justin Mechanic the next day, and he expressed to me, he was like, you could feel how the mood shifted. he was like, I was having a great time with Dan. It was wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, Dan got a text message or a call or whatever happened. And he was like, and just everything changed. And he's a pretty solid dude. Where it's
Skies darkened.
He's just doing his own thing. He doesn't really give a fuck what everybody else is doing. And he's saying to me, he's like, Dan's mood shift was so palpable and upsetting. And he's like, that I was trying to cheer him up. He didn't want that to happen. And he's like, I think I got a text message from him that I ignored. And it was a to-do. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's what are you going to say in that moment that no one else is saying? That's the one thing that I kind of miss from media in general is the people that take their time to actually craft and articulate a well thought out,
Either thought or
point.
joke.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's not a comedy show. It's comedic how bad it is, but it's not intentionally funny.
I don't believe that anymore.
In fairness, I'm sorry, Dan. I want to interrupt you a little bit. I actually want to side with Moses on this one. I think that all of American politics is comedy.
I think yeah.
It's more tragic than comedy, but they are related.
Tragedy is comedy.
It's the opposite
Yeah.
side of the same coin, Dan.
Yeah, you're trying to look for value there. That's it. Go ahead.
Shakespeare was right.
Show me the value, Dan.
And so this was the interesting thing about it, Val, because when Joe Biden stepped down, most of the political left and all of the political right was like, well, it can't possibly be Kamala because she's a moron.
Yeah.
Right.
And so everyone was thinking of like, oh, who's it going to be? And I was like, well, Gavin Newsom was like literally measuring the drapes when Joe Biden stepped out for like a year or two ago. So I was sort of convinced.
That's kind of funny, man.
It's also incredibly
Measuring
accurate.
the drapes. That's good.
Well, I mean, like, he literally showed up to the White House. Joe Biden was like on a trip. He's got his sleeves rolled up.
Yeah.
He's like doing a strut around the entire White House.
Pull back that bus.
That's funny.
So I actually did think that it was going to be Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
Although the one thing that you can't get around in terms of the Democrat Party is, well, Kamala is a BIPOC, as they say.
Yeah.
So-
yeah, that was always a
What
hard
does
one
that
for me
mean?
to swallow.
It's,
I'm sorry. I just took a swig of whiskey.
I know the
Jesus
last part is
Holy
Doesn't need
shit.
another.
Bringing bullet bourbon here, people.
I know the last part, the POC part, is person of color.
yeah.
What is it? I think it's indigenous is the I. I can't remember
Oh, my
the
goodness.
life of the me with
That's
the B.
I'm like,
It's too many acronyms. It's like a goddamn comic book.
that's
Yeah.
absurd. She's
Yeah.
like the least black person ever.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I looked it up. I got it.
Yeah.
It is a black, indigenous, and people of color.
What the hell is the
what does
difference?
that
That's bullshit.
It
Oh,
was-
that's
Yo,
the
let that
DNC
bitch
for you.
fucking hang out in Lakewood for like 2 fucking days.
Yeah.
well,
With
you
all
know,
the Jews, or hang out on MLK, where it's the last bastion of the black folk over there.
well, I mean, that is the funny thing about it too, is
Not
because
so much.
No.
she grew up
Don't
in like
upset
me.
Canada and went to like fancy schools there too. So it's not like she didn't come from privilege.
She's a well-off
Well,
person.
she's in government. Of course, you get
Yeah.
from privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. All these
Like,
people are full of
that's
shit.
what it's gonna be,
Fuck all
but-
these
But
politicians.
the prevailing thought process for that was this was just like an audition for her because the Democrat Party thought so little of her. It's like, all right, we'll give you this little bit of time, and if you screw it up, then we'll pull you out. And we'll put somebody else in, like Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer or someone like that.
It's so funny. So, like, I'm out there in the world, and I run into all these people that have these wild ideas. A lot of them are convinced that, like, this has been the plan all along.
I've worked in conservative media for like 4 years now.
Yeah.
That has exactly been the thought process the entire time. That like Joe Biden, most people were saying Joe Biden would be replaced during his presidency.
Right.
And so when that didn't happen, it's like, well, they'll replace him like right around election time.
Yeah, you just keep saying the
You
thing.
just keep
you
saying
know?
it,
Yeah.
and then you do your little victory lap when
Acknowledge
it
the
happens.
problem, just don't fix it.
Yeah.
The same thing happens in economics, where it's like, people predict like 20 of the recessions, that never happened, essentially. It's the same type of thinking.
Buckshot. It's buckshot. You're going to be right at least once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you cast a wide net.
Yeah. And like the rhetoric I see is, well, she never had to do like a primary. She never had to do this.
Yeah.
Well, that's yeah, and you're right, but that's just a commentary on how fucked up our system is, where everything is just chosen by two parties.
Mm-hmm.
The Republican Party is just the Trump Party, and the Democratic Party is just Kamala Harris now, I guess.
It's not really, though.
It's not really her party. She's
It's not
the
her
leader of
party,
the
but you know
She's
what I
just
mean.
there.
Yeah, it's just
She just attended.
We just get given these two people, and you have to choose between two shit sandwiches.
Yeah.
and nobody wants.
I
that.
mean, you do have to choose between two shit sandwiches, which actually brings me to another thing that just happened.
Yeah.
Bobby Kennedy Jr.
Oh yeah,
He was running somewhat of a good third-party independent campaign
as well as
until all of the things up in his past that he did a very poor job of explaining were unearthed. For
What?
example,
He's a Kennedy.
yes.
Well,
He's allowed.
yeah.
Now that's like a Republican talking point. Oh my God, a Kennedy has endorsed a Republican.
Yeah, well, yeah, he endorsed Trump, and then shortly thereafter, Tulsi Gabbard, who was a progressive Democrat, also endorsed him, which is also like you can use that any way you want. Like RFK Jr., you kind of could see the writing on the wall there a little bit, and Tulsi, it was kind of it was like out there.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
She subbed for Tucker Carlson when he was still on Fox News.
Right.
So like this was going to happen. What's she gonna do? Like endorse Kamala? She hates Kamala. She kneecapped Kamala's campaign in 2020. It was actually one of the greatest moments in any sort of primary debate.
I just had the idea of he was doing like, "What you gonna do, brother?" Like, Kamala Harris runs nonsense.
And that happened as well. Hulk Hogan spoke at the RNC. And I am going to be honest with you guys. I normally don't watch these things. I really because they're just like pep rallies for politics.
I thought that was just Rocky 6, 7. 6. Would it be 6? I don't know where we are.
I'm just putting that out there. I don't know.
But Hulk Hogan spoke at the RNC. I could not help but freaking watch it. And he is literally, he did it all in kayfabe practically.
Yeah. Oh,
it was literally Hulk Hogan.
It was great.
It was just cutting a promo.
Like, we're going to forget about the Hollywood Hogan? You think you could sell me on those fucking Hulkamaniac shits? Fuck your vitamins and fuck your prayers, because I don't believe you anymore, Hulk.
I mean, to be fair, that was funny. I could not stop laughing at that.
Yeah,
that was.
I watched clips of it. I was like, we are like really, and like this is hilarious. I've never actually seen the movies or read the books, but like the Hunger Games, from what I understand that is.
I thought
that's where we live now. That's what this country has become. Isn't that great?
I thought you were going to go with Idiocracy.
No, that's a good one. Yeah,
I tend to lean on that one. I wanted to change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's just fun. I love the times that we live.
It is fucking goddamn ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not supposed to curse. Sorry.
But well, I mean, you can now. It's fine.
All right.
But like, I mean, we're well past the 2-minute mark. But one of the things that I really kind of liked, because everyone, as I said earlier, everyone kind of like understood that Kamala is like uniquely untalented for this. Like, she can't go and do any sort of public speaking whatsoever without cackling like a moron.
She has a -5 to charisma.
Wow. That's like a D&D thing.
We're really getting all of Moses' strengths.
Yeah, wow.
But somehow,
Moses politics, everybody.
But somehow the media has now convinced everybody that she is like Obama 2.0.
Right.
Which is like,
I think that like personal opinion, I think that's going to shift. You get like and the media's used this term as well. I say the media like has a broad canvas, but like there's like a sugar high that exists.
Honeymoon phase.
Yeah, exactly. It's a honeymoon phase, whatever you want to call it. But like she's in that phase right now, and that will shift a little bit. And at some point she is going to have to like properly speak. Because we all know how fucking Trump speaks. He's a fucking idiot.
Well, yeah, but he's good on a mic.
Yeah.
He's good on a mic. He can talk.
He does he can definitely talk. I'm not going to disagree with that. But he does. I mean, like at the same time though, like I want to just like counterbalance that a little bit. He was asked a question the other day where it was like, what do you think of? And Dan, maybe you'll be able to chime in on this one. That said, it's fucking completely irrelevant because his answers to everything are always the same.
Yep.
He was asked a real question and he just went off on a tirade about like
that's all you have to do.
Stupid shit.
That's what he does.
It's sleight of hand.
I was double timing
that implies the word slight. I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
I was double timing it. He did an event with Tulsi Gabbard. She was like moderating it or whatever, which is like she would ask him a question and then he would talk 20 minutes about like something else, then answer the question,
Totally
then talk about
topic.
something else. It was like a sandwich.
Yeah.
Where the answer is in between, but you have to go through that 20 minutes to find the actual answer.
You got to really work for it.
I mean, like, he's like, for somebody who's like, what is he, 80?
Yeah,
like 78, like
78. Yeah.
But like, he's got a lot of energy to do all that.
He does. I'll give him that. Yeah, he's got the energy. There's no doubt about that.
But that's actually
he could be dead tomorrow, but he's
He might have been dead years
especially
ago.
if that
He's
bullet
just a
gets a little
robot.
closer.
Yeah. Well, that's actually an interesting thing too, because that's something that I've been hearing. Are you guys familiar with Dave Smith at all? He's like a comedian, but he's mostly like a libertarian commentator.
I vaguely know.
He has a thesis statement right now, pretty much going that Trump is shook from the assassination attempt because libertarians will lean a certain way. So it was like pretty much the deep state trying to off him.
Right.
And so now he's thinking that like Trump is kind of like walking back some of the things that he said. You'll enjoy this, Pete. So in 2016, he said that he would lock up Hillary Clinton. We all heard it. We all know this.
Yeah.
And
he went off about it.
He has now said he's backpedaled from that. It's like, oh, well, they all just started chanting it. Like, I didn't actually say it. It's like,
you totally said it. He 100%.
I remember watching.
Yeah, but he's done this before.
I remember watching the debate with you.
Yeah.
And he was literally like going over to Hillary. He's like, I'm going to appoint an investigator to see if we can charge you.
Imagine looking in somebody's eye and telling them something like that, and then you actually get all of that power, and you're just like, no, we're cool, right?
Yeah. We cool, G. Like, so there might be something to that where he's kind of lost a little bit of esteem. Where he's
I
like,
can see that, yeah.
It's actually an interesting thing. There's that dichotomy where Trump might be losing some of his edge because he's shook from, potentially being assassinated. And Kamala is like trying to take some of his, positions.
Oh,
like
no, she is, for
like
sure.
a border wall.
So I'll say this, like my honest opinion about it. I agree with you, the idea that he's like a bit shook. I think that my personal opinion of Trump is that he's like a coward.
Yeah.
That he like really just like wants to be loved.
Yeah.
He wants to be liked, and that's why all of these things have happened. I also think that he does try to fulfill the things that he promises because he wants to be loved.
Yeah.
Which is also why people like him, because it actually does do some of the shit that he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
Not because he's a good leader or anything. I don't think that necessarily a president should do what the masses want. I don't think that my common man, myself included, is somebody who should be making policy decisions on a mass level. But he fulfills that role. At the same time, you look over at the other side and you've got yourself a Kamala Harris representing the so-called other team, which I don't think that it is. And I think that she's just full of shit and a liar.
Yeah.
She just fakes it.
Well,
and it's very obvious that she fakes it.
Yeah.
And all of these things are very unlikable to any red-blooded American.
She's a political chameleon because she made her mark being like the district attorney in California.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she
Freed everyone.
And she locked up people
Oh,
like
she
for
locked
marijuana
up, yeah.
charges. She kept people beyond their sentences as a source of cheap labor for the state of California. This is what Tulsi Gabbard threw in her face in the 2020 primaries. And she never had an answer for it.
No.
And essentially the only talking point that I've heard from any people on the political left has been, well, it wasn't that many. It wasn't like in the thousands. It was like, several dozen. And I'm like, well, that's still too many.
It's too
any
many.
death is a tragedy.
Yeah. The bottom line is that, I think that she's getting this enormous pass right now because people are trying to treat her with these kid gloves.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit. She's not a good person. She's a piece of shit human being. So is Trump.
Well, they're doing that to try and bolster her against Trump.
No, I understand, Moses. It's not lost on me. I understand that. But she's a piece of shit human being. And she did nothing to support any of these communities that she claims to be a part of. Like myself, it's like I look at that and it's like I very much so feel a certain way about how, well, let's use the euphemisms that we like to use. People of color, Spanish people, black people, so on and so forth. She did fuck all for all of those people. She never gave a fucking shit about anybody.
She locked up black people in California.
She's just another fucking Trump. So the idea that you would vote for her as if she's different from Trump is total bullshit.
I don't know who I heard say this. It might have been a celebrity, but I forget his or her name. But the person literally said, oh, it's time for a change. Let's vote in Kamala. She's the vice president, you dipshit. Like, how is it change? If you wanted any sort of like anything, and don't lecture me on what the vice president actually does, because she's the one that actually has cognition in that freaking White House on that ticket or that old ticket.
But that bar is so low.
And you can't tell me that she could be like, hey, let's do this because I want it to happen. And then Joe Biden needs nap time. Like from 5 o'clock on, she's running the country.
Even without that, what I will say on the note of the actual, so-called competition that's happening between them, personal opinion about the way in which this is unfolding, Trump cannot fucking get his head out of his ass and stop just making fun of her for the color of her skin.
For the dumbest reasons.
Oh,
That is a losing proposition.
Just talk about how she's a liar.
It's like an Andrew Dice Clay fucking stand-up act. And it's like, oh,
he's like trying to be funny and shit, and you're just making fun of her because of how she looks. It's stupid.
It is so true because he is just taking the lowest fruit, the lowest fruit, and it's just so obvious where there are like legitimate things you could attack.
Exactly.
It's just crazy.
And that's one of the things that drives me crazy about it too, is because you have all of these avenues. You literally have, because we were drinking one time at a bar, and I said this very line and made the bartender crack up. Joe Biden literally said that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally said it.
Yeah.
Like, this is an administration that embodies or amplifies whatever the fuck he actually said.
He said it, and he said it proudly.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that starts with Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
She is a
It also ends there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is. Listen, she is like, I know we throw this around a lot, but she is like, there's a bunch of people that Gavin Newsom would be qualified to be president. He is a governor of California. He's a piece of, he perspires ooze, but he would still be qualified. Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan. You could literally, like, she's an idiot, but she would be more qualified than Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris got the vice presidential role after calling Joe Biden a racist on the debate stage because Joe Biden needed someone, a BIPOC, to be vice president and a female to be vice president to improve his chances of actually winning the election.
And she's also a racist.
She is.
She
Yeah,
is also a racist.
That's my biggest fucking hang up about it. It's that like Trump is a
He's
fucking
a racist too,
Trump's
like,
a fucking
whatever.
chameleon, you know. But he's like
Well, he's an old Democrat.
Yeah.
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 He will say or do anything. He's a piece of shit person. That's my personal opinion about it. But Kamala Harris is convincing when she pretends like she's black.
She's a better actor.
And that and myself like not like I'm fucking like I ain't no fucking like low red motherfucker.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's like I actually do appreciate like like some sort of a semblance of being like a member of these groups, and in particular, I think that it's just like it's absurd. Like this fucking like I feel sometimes when I like enter into like a black bar or whatever, I feel like maybe I'm overstepping my bounds. You know, maybe I should like check myself a little bit. She walks in so fucking proud, like she didn't just put a fucking half a dozen black men in jail because their kids didn't go to school that day in
that was
California. She's a piece of shit. Fuck her. And it's disgusting to me that she gets any type of fanfare from people who know nothing
Well,
about
it's also
it. She's a
because
terrible
that
person.
essentially we no longer have news anymore. We just have left-wing propaganda and right-wing propaganda.
Yeah.
So that's what like the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC especially does this. Like it's all just like as left-wing as you could possibly get. And you get the same thing. You have like the Daily Wire, you have Fox News. Fox News is kind of like Rhino-ish though. Like, I mean, like they kind of are. Like if you go through it, like there was, I know insider information a little bit. They they really were pushing.
Spill that tape.
They were really pushing. There was an inside kind of like, we want DeSantis for 2024. Because he had just wiped out that chameleon frickin' Charlie Crist.
Yes.
If only he
Florida.
could smile better.
If only
it's creepy when
he hasn't updated yet.
If only Ron DeSantis didn't look like he needed to take a shit while he was trying to smile.
Oh my god, it's so fucking weird when he does that.
It's called resting shit face.
That's good. Yeah, resting shit face. Wow.
He
You missed your calling, Moses.
He ran one of the most.
What, do I have that face? Because I promise you, I am shitting right now.
I believe that. I'm glad we're not at my house.
Moses DeSantis.
Well, it's close.
Rhonda Moses.
I am gonna rub your nose in that so hard later.
I won't learn.
He did run a very, very, very bad campaign.
Yeah.
Like,
He did, yeah.
He was so bad that like the rhino in the race, Nikki Haley, that had no right being in the race, was like in second place and like the last one to drop out of the Republican primary.
And he literally looks like a rhino, so you would think he would get like the female vote.
That's
like, oh, he's adorable. Look at the little rhino. I want to wrestle with him.
That's not fair, Moses. Chris Christie was also in the race.
He's more hippo, and they're more dangerous.
I dedicated
more people die from hippos than they do from rhinos.
I dedicated our Twitter account to just making fun of Chris Christie for a few months. Because it's just like he's a fat sack of crap. He had no right being
carried
in that.
our business for a little bit too.
Fuck that guy.
Back when we tried to give a shit about that, that platform.
He's an unrefined Donald Trump.
Well, that's exactly when he ran in 20.
Fat one.
Well, that's why he's unrefined. Look how Donald Trump could eat McDonald's all goddamn day and not gain a pound.
Well, he definitely
Easy.
pounds.
Easy.
He just doesn't look like a beached whale like Chris Christie. Chris Christie in 2016 was running in that alpha male kind of vein that Donald Trump, but Trump just outdid it.
Didn't we also have Yeezy?
Out alpha him.
Yeah.
We had Yeezy too. He was in the running.
He was. That was.
No,
I think that was 2020.
Oh, was it?
And I don't think he ran as a Republican.
No,
I think
he's independent.
Yeah, he was an independent, and it was also like that was just that's
Yeah.
a dangerously insane human being.
They all are. Some are just more dangerous than others.
Listen, we can say all that we want, but no, Kanye is like he's like a threat to everyone around him. Like,
Oh man, if
Nah,
I could just get those Yeezys up.
I would love to pay a couple $1,000s for a white T-shirt.
I'll just save your shekels. You'll be good.
You always say nobody wants to buy them.
one thing I wanted to get into though as well, both of these. So Joe Biden drops out, Kamala becomes the presumptive nominee for the Democrats, and Trump was obviously the nominee from pretty much the start.
Absolutely.
Like no real
From the
competition.
start,
So Trump picks J.D. Vance
Yep.
as his running mate,
which was
And
stupid.
Another interesting character
Yes.
into himself.
and Kamala Harris picks Tim Walz.
Yep.
And so the interesting thing, like we've discussed this, off mic plenty of times, if J.D. Vance was a poor selection. The way that I can steel man picking him is that he's a senator from Ohio, and my thesis statement for this election, until somebody stole it before I could get on the mic and say it, was whoever, but I have proof that I at least texted it to somebody before this man said it.
There is. We got the receipts,
Yeah.
baby.
Whoever wins Pennsylvania wins this election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is my opinion. It's the new Ohio. And so J.D. Vance, senator from Ohio, might have a little bit more pull in like the Pittsburgh area. And if you can at least grab a few more voters from Pittsburgh, which is one of the areas where Republicans, along with Philadelphia and the east side of Pennsylvania,
absolutely. They have some issues.
they get wiped out.
Yeah.
So if Trump can actually get more, of the suburbs around Pittsburgh, obviously not Pittsburgh itself, but
Squirrel
if he
Hill, we're looking at you.
but if he can actually pull those votes away, and if J.D. Vance can help in any shape, way, or form, that is the reasoning for picking him.
I don't know what JD
I can al-
Vance. JD Vance is somebody that Trump picked to carry the torch.
Yes, there's
he's
that. to
he's
it,
the
yeah.
next Trump.
Yeah.
When
And he's-
Trump wins, Trump is going to eventually have to step down at this.
Well,
probably
first
the-
of all, he's not
probably
allowed
the-
to run again.
Probably
so.
the second
He
term.
could theoretically run again because it's
That's
10 years.
I know
Yeah,
how
there's-
that. Yeah, but that's not a thing.
But that's, people
Yeah.
don't
Well,
do
not
that.
yet.
Although-
It isn't.
He's gonna be fucking like 90
Why,
years
what-
old.
yeah,
he's gonna
but
be as
that's-
old as Biden.
That's when J.D. Vance comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. That JD Vance is gonna pick up that torch.
They're giving it to him, and that's why they shot like Trump's party shot like that. They set that up.
What is about to come?
Yeah. What is
They
that?
set up. It was a conspiracy. They're like, oh, kind of shit. Like, graze Trump, like, and then he'll. That's
You know
an
much-
automatic victory.
You know how much harder it is to graze somebody with a bullet than it is to actually just shoot him?
Yeah, just shoot him. Yeah, just shoot him, and then Vance wins.
He could. There's not enough McDonald's to plug that hole.
Vance has gotten a lot of weird shit, and that's
Vance is a weird. I know nothing about him.
Oddly enough, I
Isn't he
use that
younger?
word because that was what they were pushing. I was like, he's just a weird guy. I'm like, is this your fucking ace in the hole?
Right.
That he's like, quote unquote, weird. They actually tried to hit him for like being a racist, and he's in a biracial marriage with biracial children.
I didn't know that.
That's
Yeah.
not the thing to hit
Yeah.
him with.
Yeah.
What's his wife then? I'm just curious.
I don't know, Indian or something. I don't.
I believe
Well,
she's
like,
Indian or something.
yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if she was like black or something.
No,
'cause that's
I-
like properly biracial. I'm just being racist.
What?
I'm just being racist. Can I be racist for 2 fucking seconds?
All right, I'll allow it.
So one thing that I haven't said before is I can actually, because I have criticized the pick of Tim Walz, because Tim Walz is governor of Minnesota, and Minnesota hasn't gone red since 1972.
No.
So it's like one of the safest
Yeah,
states in the
absolutely,
country.
yeah.
Why would you pick him? Because he's not going to do anything for you in Minnesota.
He's an
gonna
everyman.
win that.
Has
He's
he
an
made
everyman.
waves?
That is not the
Has he
reason.
made
That's at
waves
least not.
in any way?
What's that?
Has he made waves in any way? Like,
no. They're doing this weird thing where they're pushing him as like the old ball coach, although he's an assistant coach
Yeah.
for a high school
The
team.
everyman.
Yeah,
They're
years
trying,
ago.
They're trying to push him as like the cute grandpa.
They're doing
guy.
a Bruce Springsteen thing.
They
But-
have to counterbalance what she is.
But
I'm
like,
sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
my rationale for him is so they have to win they have to win Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But they also cannot afford to lose Michigan.
No.
Right.
And Michigan, you have to win the Muslim vote.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you pick Tim Walz, he's not Muslim, but he's a progressive. So if you have somebody that's more pro-Palestine than pro-Israel, then you could potentially secure Michigan.
You're
They-
right, Peter.
I'm sorry. I just got to jump in. I know you know these things, but like Kamala Harris has routinely, and just last night, I think, very much so supported supplying more arms to Israel, even though just literally last night,
then that only galvanizes them as a bad pick.
To the ground. Yeah.
But my thesis for
Maybe
picking
it was opposite day.
is that those are the two states that Democrats, Michigan, you cannot lose. If you lose Michigan, you're done. Because now there's so many ways for the Republicans to win. So you have to shore up Michigan in some shape, way, or form. So picking Tim Walz instead of, I think his name was Josh Shapiro, who was out of Pennsylvania.
Yeah. He's a Jew like myself,
He's
right?
Jewish, and he's
obviously Jewish.
You can say it the way it is, then.
He's so much more, he's, like, you could say whatever.
He said Shapiro.
You can,
That's fair.
Okay, folks. Okay, you just got to listen to me. Okay, folks. He's so much more pro-Israel that they would lose Michigan if they picked him. Then they might win Pennsylvania, but that's a might.
It just seems like such a like she's clearly got the momentum right now, but I just don't see.
It seems like that's starting to wane too. Like some of the
right now, it seems like, yeah.
But also right now, it's like nobody knows anything. Like the betting markets, like it just depends on which side.
No.
Some say
it's going to
Kamala,
shift
some
in
say
Trump's
Trump.
favor. Yeah. Whether that results in him getting the win or not, I don't know.
He's going to get the win.
Well,
you don't know, Moses. You don't know shit.
I do know.
I love you, brother.
I am from the
you
future.
don't know shit.
There's no reason Trump can lose.
There's a number of ways that Trump can lose.
Yeah.
If he doesn't win Pennsylvania, he can still win without Pennsylvania, but it becomes an uphill battle.
Yes.
If he loses Georgia,
yeah,
just wipe the slate. Kamala's
then we
win.
just need to recount those votes.
Yeah, just another pipe's got to burst in Atlanta. But yeah, no, he absolutely has to win Georgia. If he wins Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, he's the president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Absolutely.
He doesn't even need to win Arizona or Nevada.
I've said
Dan,
this, you
he's
guys.
always been
I feel like
president.
I don't personally care for myself. I don't care who wins this election.
Mhm.
I do have my feelings, but my sentiment is that the story, the American story, the greatest story that we could tell in this country is one where that the president gets booted out, as happened to Trump. And then he has this crazy coming back story.
It does have a good comeback, like a 1980s kind of.
I feel like it's
comeback
just
story,
it's like an action movie,
Yeah.
and it's like, and I'm
Miracle
not
on
speaking
Ice.
about what's good for this country. I don't think Trump's good for this country.
I don't
Nor do I
think-
think
yeah,
Kamala is
yeah.
good for this country either.
There's no real
But-
good choice there.
But yeah, I think both candidates are terrible. I think we should have much more options
That's
than what we have. But the bottom line is that if you ask me, like, what's the better story? It's Trump, because
Yeah.
he's just so ridiculous. He's just an insane person, and he doesn't even know why he wants to be president. He's just so ashamed of losing
And
that he
that's
just
pretty
like
much it.
really just like he needs
It's like
this
a-
for himself, and
it's like
it's sad. But I'm kind of about it, even though it's bad for all of us.
It's like a revenge story.
Yeah, exactly. Along
Well,
those lines, it's a
also, like-
revenge tale.
like to really lead into what you're saying, like Americans love that shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is
He's
an
bringing
action
it back
movie.
to when America was great.
Yeah, exactly. He's making America great.
The
again.
1980s. We
Yeah.
were beating the shit out of Russia back then. We had Patrick Swayze. He was still alive.
Yeah, he's yeah,
Point
yeah, he
Break
is
was
dead
on
now,
the cusp.
actually. Yeah.
Wolverines.
Yeah.
Now, we're really getting some weird qualifiers, but that is the state of America today.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the basis of America is how good of a movie it was in the 80s?
I think that's where I stand right now. Yeah.
Okay, so
Not even that good. Well received.
as of the recording of this podcast, I'm on Real Clear Politics right now. We have Harris up by 1 with the Wall Street Journal. Trump up by 2 by Rasmussen.
Right.
Harris up by 1 with Quinnipiac.
Is that Rasputin?
Yeah,
No,
that's what I heard too.
Rasmussen.
Really?
Oh, that's a little close for it to be coincidence.
So there's a bunch of polls that are within the the margin
They're
of
all
error.
in the margin of error.
Yeah.
It's going to shift over the other way.
what
Nobody knows who's going to be the next president.
I never really like to go by the general election polls either, because
That's because our votes don't matter.
Well,
it's all about the electoral college.
but
man.
you have to go by the swing states. The
Yeah.
swing states are what's going to determine
Yeah.
who wins.
Because our votes don't matter.
No, I love that the 5 people in Kansas get to decide my fate.
No, that's the most delightful part.
Kansas is not a swing state.
But
Yes.
Wyoming, that has the same population as the town that we're sitting in, they get the same amount of senators as we do. Ain't that a
Well,
thing?
that's just the Senate. That you
Yeah.
get more representation.
Well, that's who's
than-
really leading
Yeah,
this
what I'm
country.
talking
It's
about
not
is
the president.
representation.
yeah. That's what the House is for.
It's the same fucking thing, though. It's goddamn bullshit.
The Senate's really supposed to be only doing like what economic stuff, to, like, to pay for the bills.
One has to get passed by the other.
But the House doesn't even do anything now. If they just wait for the Supreme Court to legislate from the bench, that's why everyone's up in arms
It's
over.
because they're all fucking 90 and they can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Well, no,
Well,
They
I'm just happy
cannot
that we
do
live in a
anything.
democracy and that our votes count.
Well, that's actually just because the House, all that's for, you're only there for 2 years.
Right.
You're there just to like continuously.
Dan, I'm going to
get
stop
money
you right
for-
there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop you
Nobody's
right
been there for 2
You're
years.
only
That's
there
what your
for 2
term
years.
is. That's what your term is. So you have to constantly keep.
I know
running.
how long the term is. How long are they there for?
Well, if you're Chris Smith, 22.
Okay, thank you.
And that's
But,
on the
like,
low end.
that's all I needed.
That's on the low
But
end.
that's what you have to. But if you would let me finish my point instead of always
Jesus
interrupting
Christ,
me.
guys.
I insist upon interrupting.
Dan, we're loud and drunk.
Yes, I understand.
Subscribe, like, smash the like button.
But the idea is that you have a 2-year term. So in that first year, all you're doing is doing hitting up lobbyists, getting money for the party, and then your next year, that way you can actually run. If you're not making enough money, then you can't run that next term and they get replaced.
The bottom line is that it's all
The
the
Senate,
same thing.
6 years. And then you're just there, like that's a retirement home for
It's
everybody.
all the same
6
thing.
years
They're
is a
in
long
that
time to be
goddamn
anywhere.
fucking. They sit in that goddamn fucking house for forever. It's all the same thing. I
All
feel like if you're a congressman,
Do I feel like that?
I don't know. Do you?
A little bit.
No, fair enough. I was saying that it seems to me like you're just there for a long period of time, perhaps too long.
Well, yeah,
Always-
because if you
always
could just
too long.
because you need term limits,
Yeah,
just like the
But
the
they
president.
just like the
exist.
president, yeah.
but they
But they don't.
exist.
But they don't
Yeah.
have it. They should have term limits for the Supreme Court
Because
too.
they're the
I
ones
agree.
that actually have control of government. It's not the president. President's just a popularity
Well,
contest.
that's effectively
That's
too
kind of what it is.
the term that the right has, gravitated towards, the deep state. That's effectively what they mean.
Yeah.
Just like, and it's not even like the ones that like in the House and the Senate where you're elected. It's for the bureaucrats that get appointed and then they don't leave. Like they're just there for the Obama administration,
Yeah.
Bush administration, and
Yeah.
onward.
The parties don't matter to them because they're
No.
all the same party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a part of like it just becomes a position of
It's
power
just
that
a
you
system.
can't.
It's
that-
the same
yeah.
picture.
That's
Yeah.
a system.
You need the president to remove you, and if you're just, it seems like they're doing a fine enough job, we'll just keep you forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going through some of the swing state polls as of the recording of this. That's actually Bloomberg has Harris up by 4 in Pennsylvania.
I forgot
That's
he always runs.
He's
That's
talking
a
about
poll.
Bloomberg
It's
News.
a poll. That would hurt.
Emerson has them tied.
Ah.
Insider, I don't what insider advantage. I guess
have
that's
no
what it is. Up Trump up by 1. Rasmussen Trump up by 1. So again, all of these are just really they don't know.
They're
they don't
floating.
fucking know.
But it's still early.
In American politics, we all know this. It could change at the last minute.
Yeah.
All that it takes is Kamala Harris saying something really stupid at some opportune place. Trump always says stupid things, so we kind of know what we're getting there. You know?
he has
Trump's
a
a volume guy.
he
It's
has a
just-
different
Yeah.
grade. Though.
Yeah, he just belts it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kamala at any point could just say something fucking asinine and fuck up her campaign.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, they both can do that. They're both very capable of doing that.
Trump can't. My opinion is Trump can't do that because he's already done it every day.
He's very
He
capable.
says the most asinine thing you could imagine.
You say that, but he kind of wrecked his reelection campaign in that first debate against Joe Biden when he was just like obnoxious, just like throwing haymakers and like Biden, and they weren't landing because Joe Biden wasn't even there. He's just like,
Yeah,
it just
he was prepared for a different fight.
it came across as like elder abuse from another elder.
It might have
That's
been what they
funny.
were leaning on.
Yeah.
On Joe Biden's side, it's like, no, let him come.
And that's why in this past debate that we even glossed over, like
We
it was
did,
the
yeah.
reason why Joe Biden pretty much had to step down because I forget the
It
name
was
of
evident.
I forget his name, but effectively a pretty reputable reporter essentially said that the Obama, the White House sort of like, congregate were
Right.
like, we have Kamala on our side. We will 25th Amendment you if you don't step down.
Mm.
So that was kind of like the prevailing thought that it's like, all right,
interesting.
either step down from the race,
Right.
or we will make you step down from the presidency,
Right.
and you will have to do it in shame rather than just like, oh, you can be on Team Kamala and we'll, consider you a hero and all that stuff. Because they're even trying to do that. Like, I think during the DNC, it's like, oh yeah, Joe's such a great guy, blah, 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 blah. You just cooed him.
Right.
You just removed him from power without his consent.
Dan,
Really?
it's called democracy, and that's what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God
So
save,
go and vote for one of these two people that you hate.
God save the Queen.
It's a shame too, because I normally always try to vote third party, but
Yeah.
the Libertarian Party, and we will not get into what happened there.
Nope.
Go ahead.
But
Throw your vote away.
but they're a shit show.
That's
The
another
Green Party
podcast.
is irrelevant,
Right.
and then I think Cornel West is running, but like
Yeah.
nobody's paying attention to his campaign.
It was funny when
Who
like
is that?
Cornel West is just like I don't even know how you say it. Like he's like a professor or something like that. Like just essentially like nobody
Is
of
that
any
some
real.
PhD? That,
Yeah, I think so. I you know what, I can look at that.
We live in a two-party system.
We
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Because
There's no democracy.
you
in
can
this
see you can
country.
see that with what happened with RFK Jr.
Yeah.
It's just like he could
There's-
not get into the debates to save his life.
It's impossible for a third party to win. We live in a two-party system. It's the way that it is, and just the same way as that people in Russia, where they do get to vote, and they get to choose between Putin and all of the people who have been thrown in jail and are never allowed to be the president, or China and the way that they do it. I just feel like it's the same exact way here, where it's that you get to choose between these two people.
Your vote doesn't really matter.
Your vote doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, especially in New Jersey.
No.
It doesn't matter in New Jersey because you know Kamala's going to carry the state.
Yeah.
Now Trump will carry, Ocean County, Monmouth County, like the Republican counties.
So
But,
it's
like,
good that you went out to vote, because your vote won't matter. And that's just it. You wasted a Tuesday when you could have been drinking.
Let's
Just go to your local bar, get good and sauced.
Stimulate
long
the
do you-
economy.
how long do you think it takes to vote?
Hours?
I don't know.
It does not take hours.
I voted once, and I had to stand in line like I was going to a great.
How long do you
show.
think it takes to drink, Dan?
Yeah. I had.
Well,
at
I mean,
least
if
a
you're doing it
six-pack
right,
in
you
that
can
line.
drink and vote at the same time.
I don't know that that's true. I have to consult my attorney. for
There
that.
were a lot of cops there, and I don't think they would have let me drive on the way home.
No, yeah, that you were in jail, my friend. That was you got arrested. That's how that happened.
I still voted.
Yeah, did you?
I was forced to.
we passed by it like real quickly, but like, so like coming into this, I know a lot of people that kind of on the fringes and like look to those like third parties.
Yeah.
Like with RFK or like Jill Stein or whatever. And when RFK did his like turnover thing, like these people that were like, he's got to stay on, so at least like the third party matters type deal and all that thing. And then as soon as like he endorsed Trump, they're all saying, well, if you can't beat him, you join him.
That's interesting too, because
Trump.
Isn't that how voting works?
he's still on the ballot in like all of the states that he could get onto the ballot that are not swing states, and they're actively fighting him in some swing states to stay on the ballot because the Kamala campaign is like, no, you're gonna hurt Trump, and we want you to stay in the ballot. And like, I think what was it like Wisconsin? I think it was like one of the key states that he's still on.
There's like 2 or 3 of them that like he was past the point of where he could be removed.
Yeah. I honestly was considering him as like a potential candidate to maybe vote for him, but I listened to a podcast with him, and he sounds like this all the time. It's like, and I'm like, you can't win a general election when you sound like that. I'm sorry, I'm sorry that it's a neurological disorder that you have and you can't control it. But like, listen, this is the post JFK world. Your uncle, RFK Jr. Like, literally, it's just like, are you handsome? Can you talk?
Right. Also, I'm
he's a Kennedy.
sorry,
He must be handsome.
but like the amount of outrageous stories he tells at like any given time they put a mic in front of him.
Yeah.
He's lived a life.
It was also too, like, I listened to an interview he did with Sagar and Gotti of Breaking Points.
Right.
And he saved this question for last, which is actually the way you interview people. Like you really hit them like at the end.
Right.
You can also do it 2 ways where you're like, all right, you give them a softball question at the end to make them feel
you
like
build rapport, then you smack him at the end.
He asked him about like the sexual assault accusations, and the answer that he gave was so bad like so like.
Was it yes?
It was pretty much just like, listen, I was rambunctious when I was a young man.
Wow,
and I'm like,
not the right answer.
and I'm like, what
Not
the
the,
fuck?
the
are you
right
talking
answer is no. I did not do that.
That's the right way to say it, though, because I can't picture that voice ever being rambunctious.
It was just like, who is advising you? who lets you like?
Trump?
There was that. What was it? I think it was either American Dad or Family Guy, where it's like Ronald Reagan's up at the podium and he's about to do like a line, is like, and he says something like ridiculous, and I'm like, I need to take a nap or whatever the fuck, and one of his like reps just grabs the mic and just slides across the frickin' the podium because he's just
Like
going off the fucking deep end.
Like a vaudeville hook.
Yeah.
Oh.
A couple weeks ago, like I think it was before he dropped out, but he's like telling a story about like they found like a roadkill bear.
Yeah.
And then they brought it down to like Central Park in New York City to like prank bicyclists or something.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, they put like a bicycle right by it. They put it up with
This
like
is my
police
tax
tape.
dollars.
And this is the shit.
You're welcome.
No wonder I don't pay.
He has so many of these big, like, tall tails.
Yeah.
It's like part of his personality. And it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And at the same time, too, it was like the thing where it's like, oh, well, this kind of confirms that his entire campaign was a sideshow.
Right.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like, he was putting effort into it. Like, he had a commercial during the Super Bowl.
And he was going through the whole thing because he was like doing the Joe Rogan thing and all like the Joe Rogan friends and all those comedians and stuff like that. And he was like trying to get through to like, I guess, through to those type of people.
He was trying to do essentially like, I guess, the modern day equivalent of like a Ron Paul.
Yeah, similar
campaign, but like it just didn't land because, first of all, the way he sounds, like, I'm sorry, you can't control it, but like, you're not going to win when you sound like you're about to die, even though you're not, even though we voted for somebody that is about to die practically. 2 of them.
Yep.
That's all we have to vote for.
That's all we have to vote for is the most elderly of elderly people.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. It's what we have on our plate, though.
We have the lesser of two evils, which are the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, that's
It's a pyramid scheme of democracy.
That's
Wow.
that's actually,
You know what's that's so good. Wow. I love that you know nothing about any of these subjects, and yet you really do because you're an American. and that's the sad reality right there.
As long as you're downwind of the bullshit that is Washington, D.C., then you're going to catch something.
Yeah. It is practically unavoidable. But
I'm
it's like
totally digging these mushroom gummies.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, good for you. Really lean into that Joe Rogan persona
that we're trying to cultivate.
It works for him.
And he's not really like he's just trying to he grandstands too much now too.
Yeah.
So it's like you could totally lean into that, Moses. You could just start every podcast, be like, "You guys try DMT? I got some."
Yeah.
Remember when Joe Rogan was Joe Rogan? Let's make Joe
Pepper
Rogan.
Trumps remembers.
Let's make Joe Rogan great again.
That's speaking of that. I found it really bizarre that Donald Trump did an interview with Theo Von.
Yeah.
It was like Theo
That
Von.
was
Oh
bizarre.
man, yeah. I actually saw that. I despise Theo Von. I don't like how he looks.
I don't like how he looks,
It
but
like
I
actually
appreciate
offends
him
me
in
as a person. Like it works for him, I
Theo
guess.
Von is one of those people that's gone full bore into the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, because what was that
He-
redneck guy? I can't remember.
I feel like he's a better Eric Andre.
Like the blue collar tour guy. Whatever. But
I
these
know.
guys that are like,
yeah.
are like whatever. And then they find a persona that hits.
Yeah.
And then
Larry
you
the
just
Cable
run
Guy?
with it.
Yeah,
Cable Guy.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Or
it's
Bill
fake,
Engvall.
but it's like the worst kind of fake.
And I was like,
I don't know.
that interview, I don't think I listened to all of it. I think I kind of stopped somewhere around when they started talking about Theo Von.
I'm going to be fully
and, like,
honest. I couldn't listen to a second of it.
Well, I mean,
I don't know how you got through any of that. I love you.
They did this whole long, I think it was about 10 minutes where they're talking about how Trump doesn't do drugs or drinks because of his brother.
He's a teetotaler.
And Theo Von is just like, he was like an addict or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? Like,
It's a little thing called the presidency, Dan.
oh, yes, that's what we need.
Yeah.
He can't start drinking
Bush-
now. He'll die. He's 80.
Yeah.
It's kind of like come down to like America's just like a reality show now.
Yeah.
it
Oh,
is.
yeah.
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 It's very much just become.
That's why we have a reality president, like a reality
yeah,
show.
reality show president.
I
Yeah,
wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah, it's kind of like these wild and crazy things that probably in a just world should not be
It really
happening.
started with Clinton, like just that whole thing. Well, probably
It's been on this path for a long time.
Yeah.
It's going to continue.
I was thinking
on this
Nixon
path,
on, I can't remember that.
I think it's really
60s,
started with
70s
Kennedy because that's when everybody kind of got
Well, he was an
infatuated.
actor.
Kennedy?
What are you
Oh
thinking
no,
about?
I'm thinking Reagan.
You're thinking of Reagan, yeah.
Yeah.
But like everyone got infatuated with
Yeah.
John F. Kennedy because he was like, oh, he's just so handsome and charming, and he's
Yeah.
like, I would like to, diverge from that
Rape
question
your
with
daughter.
another snide remark.
Yeah.
Throw her right off.
I mean, I'll say straight up, my mother had absolutely. She still speaks about JFK in this like way that makes me feel uncomfortable. You know, she like sometimes she gets like a little bit of stars in her eyes, and she's just like, oh
She
man,
also does
that Johnny. And I'm like, okay, conversation over.
She does that with the Dos Equis guy too, though.
What the- you know too much about my mother. We're gonna segue out of this conversation.
Nothing good.
You're
comes
lucky
from
my
it.
sister's not there.
Your sister is very akin.
Stop it.
So they actually did agree to do a debate as well.
I have seen that. Yeah.
That was like, it was a weird back and forth.
Right.
Where like Trump wanted 3 debates and one to be on Fox, one to be like ABC. I think they only got the ABC as of the recording of this podcast.
It
The
seems
ABC
so
one
funny
down.
to me because of the little bit that I was following, but like this stuff comes across me. It's like it's tit for tat, down to like the microphone thing,
It's
down to
such
this thing,
bullshit.
and it's like
They're such children.
Yeah, those stupid little riders where I have to have M&Ms, but they could only be blue.
Yeah, you're right though. That's
But
really
it
how
comes down
petty
to
they
like
are.
something stupid like that.
Are you talking about Van Halen?
Yeah. But they are that childish, even if they're not Van
Yeah,
Halen.
I get it with Van Halen. That makes sense. It's like,
They
you're
actually
supposed to be
did something.
president.
They
They contributed to society.
provided a service,
Yeah,
which was to fucking rock.
yeah. Fucking hey. I haven't gotten my hearing back since.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we kind of tackled most of the things that we wanted to talk about in this.
listen, it's chaos.
Yeah.
It's we're all here along for the ride, more or less.
Time for a last call.
Yeah, we're at last call. But one thing, maybe we should mention this on the podcast itself.
Yeah.
We're considering on election night. We'll see how things pan out with our schedules and all that.
Oh yeah.
Potentially going and doing a live stream
I think
of-
that's a great idea. I would love that.
on election night. You can hear our reactions. We'll probably pretty much just say it's basically the same thing that we said
Yeah.
on this podcast.
It's just
earlier.
going to be all of us very upset.
Well, I mean, also at the same time, like you guys will probably be drinking. I'll probably be stuck, like looking right at the maps the whole time. Like,
You'll still be
refreshing.
working.
Dan, I'm going to stop you right there. There's no maybe I'll be drinking. I'm gonna if we're doing it here, I'm sleeping at this house. I am going to drink such an insane amount of bourbon.
Do you think we
Yeah.
could book Fear to come on this live
Oh, my God.
broadcast?
Get on that.
I
Yeah.
might have some ins.
All right.
But yeah, so
Can we get them?
Actually,
let's
maybe.
talk about it. Let's
Actually,
talk.
maybe.
Yeah. We know some people.
Yeah.
if you guys think this is a good idea, hit us up. Everywhere you get your podcast, there's a way to comment on them. So you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple and say like, oh, hey, that's a good idea. You can leave a comment on Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. One thing that we are considering, though, if we do live stream on election night, it would most likely be Rumble only because you don't know what the hell's going to come out of these guys' mouths. So just to make sure
Could
that
be
like
anything.
we don't,
Rumble
sync,
in the jungle.
sync our YouTube channel.
Right.
We might just exclusively have it on Rumble. So
Yeah.
if you aren't, if you don't even know what Rumble is, I
don't.
understand. I get it. But if maybe you think that's a good idea and you want to, participate in it, you can set up a Rumble account and follow us there. Just maybe consider.
Check it out because that's
Maybe slip your toe in there.
That's too much podcast.
but like we can't do it anywhere else.
Yeah.
We cannot exist.
Yeah,
and get-
there's too many things that we can say
Right.
on that would get us hit, and we have to like kill the stream on YouTube.
Absolutely.
So we could potentially try it.
Oh,
on
we could try.
YouTube,
We'll just be
but-
kneecapped almost
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah.
I
We're
think.
like, all right, and now we have to kill the stream.
But yeah, if there is interest, please let us know.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
You can also, if you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, or all of them,
Yep.
you can hit us up there. Give your thoughts. I love the idea. Like, maybe you guys shouldn't do that. This, that, and the other thing. But, follow us on those platforms, and that way you have access to some of our shorts that we
Yes.
are trying to post more often. But,
We're working on it, folks.
Old Dan only has so many minutes in a day. All right. So, you guys got anything else you want to say before we wrap up here?
I feel
No.
pretty good about it. I'm smelling a lot of marijuana from your side of the table.
It
is.
That's coming
It's
from
very overpowering.
We're all going to get a contact high from
Yeah.
it.
I feel
and
that.
you too, the viewer, will get a contact high if you hit the like and share button.
Yeah. I guess dive into that because
Yeah.
it's
They're
legitimately
called
overpowering.
hits for a reason.
Also, just one last thing. I just want to plug the Patreon again. Go over there. If you like what we do, for a couple bucks a month, like the cost of a beer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You could give us a little bit of support, and that will help us get things done, like live streaming and stuff in the future. So just at least, if you do us the favor, just go check it out, and we really appreciate it.
One of the most important things you guys can do, especially if you're on YouTube, is like, comment, and share. Share the the podcast with anybody that you think would enjoy it. Also, I want to shout out to our home base, loudanddrunk.com.
Absolutely.
You can catch up on the podcast there. Thank you, Moses. Catch up on the podcast there. There's plenty of merch that you can check out. If we do a visual component, maybe I should be wearing a shirt for that.
Ooh.
Maybe.
And you can also harangue Moses in our contact tab. You can email him because he's going to be the one sifting through all of those.
Yeah,
You better actually check this.
I do, and
You have put this into the world.
I check it and I delete them promptly. What?
Check some
They're
more.
filed.
In the trash.
T for the best fans ever.
So for Moses, Justin, Pedro Alexandra, whatever the hell your name, Pedro,
Alejandro.
Alejandro.
You got her all the tongue. Get a couple ripples in that.
I'm running out of steam, so that's why I can't roll the R's.
And here we are.
I'm Dan, and until next time, Moses, you gonna be okay?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I hate this.